Hello and welcome to the second of our spreadsheet training sessions dealing with Excel 2007. So what I want to do is quickly do a quick recap of what we did in the last session. Obviously that video is available in its entirety if you want to go and have a look at it. So we just really spend a lot of time introducing 2007 to us. We got this idea of the ribbon that runs across the top of the screen here, and that this ribbon changes depending on these different tabs that we go to, and sometimes indeed the ribbon changes based on something that we introduce. So if we introduce a image or a chart or something like that, then we may even get new buttons appear along the top, new tabs appear along the top here with further information. And this should all be context sensitive. This should all adapt, hopefully, to meet our needs as we're going through, and creating things. Then we looked at the sort of content that we can hold in a spreadsheet. So we can put numbers, we can put words. We inserted some images, and we had a look at the idea of using borders and shadings. Okay, and so borders and shadings refers to the idea that you can take an area and you can colour it in. So we might have like a light orange colour, for example, here. Okay, and then I might want to define this area with a thick outside border, for example. By the way, notice that the border, you never get the border down either the left-hand edge, or if I do the same thing along the top, you never get a border line along the top edge. I think it's just one of the quirks of the program. Then I can come in and I can define. So what I'll do here is, let's say I want to have a few horizontal rows. Okay, and that was one of the other things we talked about. I am slightly bunged up, I'm afraid, this week. But one of the other things we talked about was this is a row. Okay, rows go horizontally, left to right. This is a column. Columns run vertically. So let's say I want to change the colour of this part of the row to a maroon colour there. But if I wanted to do lots at once, then I have to hold down the control key. The control key is the button that says CTRL on the keyboard, and that allows me to select more than one, because if I forget and I accidentally click without the control key, as I did there, then it deselects everything else. So I can select a big long line. If I come down here and click, oh, it deselected the first line. However, if I hold down the control key and click and drag, even though it's still faint, it's a faint grey, you can see it above, and then that allows me to colour them all in. Okay, so holding down the control key allows you to select multiple different areas, and you could just do it by clicking. Click once, come over here, click again, click again, click again, click again, click again. Press the pick a colour, and there you go. We filled in a variety, and they're non. I think it's contiguous is the word, when they're not touching each other. But I might have just made that up. So we looked at the idea, and so much about spreadsheets is about their functionality, and their functionality is often down to how well they look and perform. It's not all about looks. But if you look at something and it's just a whole mess of words and numbers and it doesn't appear very clear at all, then it's just not a very useful spreadsheet. Whereas something that's really nicely formatted, well laid out, it's got clear areas, your eye is immediately drawn to different sections. These are important things. And these are some of the skills that we're helping to try and cultivate. So let me clear off what I've got on my screen here. So I'm going to do that by selecting it all, clicking and dragging, come up to here to my little clear menu, and then I've got a whole bunch of different things I can do. Clear all is what I'm going to use here because it will clear all the content and all the formats. I can just choose to clear the formatting. In fact, I'll do that just to show you. So the content, the words, they're stayed, and you can do the reverse as well. You can clear the contents. And if there were any comments on this document, which there aren't, I could have cleared those. So I'm just going to choose clear all there. We also looked at the idea that we can write a word and then change that word's colour. So I can make a word red. I can make a word big. Now, what I've noticed straight away here is that this word's nice and big. If there was something in this box here, can you see now it's truncating, it's chopping off the very end of that O of hello, okay? And that's just down to the column not being wide enough. And so I just come into the gap in between the A and the B, and I just click and drag it, and I make my column wide to suit the width of the content, okay? And a nice little trick you can do, and I don't know whether I mentioned this last time, is you can double click on this gap. And when you double click, the column will automatically expand to include the widest thing, but it's the widest thing anywhere in that column. So if you've got a big word, you know, or a big long sentence much further down, the column will get very wide, you know. But in this case, that's not a problem at all. And so yeah, so this sort of first box here, this was what we concentrated on last week. And this has really got all the different things that we want. And you've also got things like bold and italic and underline that you've probably seen in word processing. And just like in word processing, you've got left align and right align and center and things like that. Okay, so it was all about how your text works, making it get displayed. And what we're going to focus on this week is we're going to focus on, I'm just deleting those with the keyboard. What I want to focus on this week is the sort of the meat of the matter, which is formulas. And we did a little bit of formula work last week, so let's just have a look. And then we'll advance it on. So if I have a 2 and I have a 3 and I have them of varying font sizes, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to reset all my reset everything on the document. So I'm going to click in this little this gap here between the columns and the rows. This top left hand corner. This is select all. It selects everything on the spreadsheet, and I'm going to clear all. And there we go. So now the reason I did that was because I don't want things coming in at different size, different coloured fonts and text and things like that. So I put a 2 in there, and I'll put a 3 here. And then what I'll also do is I'll now write a short formula the way we did last week to add up 2 plus 3. So all formulas always begin with equals. Okay, hopefully I drummed that particular song enough last week. So all formulas always begin with equals, and that's how Excel know that it's not just regular data you're putting in there. It's not a number, it's not a text, it's not words, it's a formula because it begins with equals. So there we go. And this is how you would, apart from putting the equal sign at the start instead of the end, the rest of it is just as you would write it as a you know, normal everyday life. So I'm going to do 2, and I'm going to do a plus, and I'm going to do a 3. I'm going to press return, and we get the answer 5 displayed in the box, because what we're saying is this box now equals this sum, and the sum is up here on the formula bar. Okay, so that's pretty easy. And then we also looked at the different symbols. So we've got the plus symbol, obviously that's quite easy one to understand, and we've also got the minus symbol. I can swap that out, the little dash, and so we get -1 because 2 minus 3 is -1. We then looked at the multiplication symbol, which isn't the X, because that's just a letter in Excel. They actually use the star sign, which is above the number 8 on my keyboard. And so 2 star 3 is how you write multiply. Okay, so that's 2 star 3. And then the only one that's, and I think that's easy enough to get your head around, and the only one I find that's a tiny bit tricky is the division sign, and it's the slash. It's the / there. So 2 divided by 3, what's that, 0.66 or something? Yeah, cool. So that's the very basic way you can do it. And occasionally you will drop real numbers like we've just done then into formulas. But that's not the way that we do it in general. Okay? The way we do it in general is we refer to cell references. Okay? Now, we talked about cell references briefly Okay, all of the columns all begin with letters. So I've got A through to T on my screen here, and all the rows begin with numbers. So I've got 1 through to 24 at the bottom. And you can click on any one square and you can see that we get the column header is lit up with yellow here is E, and the row header is lit up as an 8. And I can see up here that it says E8. Okay, and so we're in cell E8. I can click on any of them. And it's up to you. I tend to actually forget that this name box is even here. But you just glance, you know, J5, you know, G14, R16, you know, this is going to be a boring video if I just carry on doing this, but you get the idea. So each cell has a reference. Now, I've written this, so I've written here A2, in cell A2, I've written the number 2. Please don't think for any second. In fact, I'm just going to make some changes, just because I don't want any confusion between the cell references and the contents of the cells. They're just not linked in any way. Okay, so let's do here. Let's change our sum. So let's go back and let's make this sum 3 plus 6. So I'm going to say 3 plus 6. And there we go, we get the answer 9. So up here in the top right, I've written 3 plus 6, and in the box, it shows the answer 9. Now in this cell, I'm going to do the same sum. But you can see, I've already got a 3 and I've already got a 6 on my spreadsheet here. Okay? And so I'm going to do the same sum, but instead of, excuse me, instead of typing in the numbers, I'm going to type in their cell references. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's quite simple, but I'll just do a demonstration. I'm going to do a formula. How do I start? I start with equals. I want to add this 3 that's in cell A2 to this 6 that's in cell A3. And I want the contents of those two added together, the product of them, the sum of them added together, put in the cell that I'm in here in B4. So I'm going to type A2. And what happens? Well, straight away, Excel knows we're doing a formula because of the equals, and it understands what A2 is. It's a cell reference, all right? And watch this. If I was to add a 1 on, see there's a blue box at the moment, and that blue box just goes to whatever I type in. Look, so I change the A21, and look, the blue box goes around the 21. I don't want that. I'm just showing you that that's what happened. So that blue box should be it's a visual cue to you, and hopefully that's the one that you wanted to add, you know, or, you know, that's part of your formula. I think I'm overcomplicating the matter, but basically it just draws boxes around whatever cells you choose, okay? And to that, I'm going to add A3. So I'm going to now type A3 in. Bink. And I get a green box, okay? And I'm going to press return. And exactly the same as the previous one, I get the answer 9, because 3 plus 6 is always going to equal 9, okay? Now, so the difference here is that we've said add the contents of cell A2 to the contents of cell A3. And the answer is 9, okay? Don't pay any, it doesn't matter that, you know, these are just these are specific references, and these references refer to cells. All right. Now here's the beauty of spreadsheets. Okay, is that just press return. So that 9 is sitting there. Okay, and that you know, but what it's doing, although it's sitting there and it looks calm, it's continually checking. Excel is continually checking to see if any changes are going on. All right, and let's pretend that it was a bit of a mistake. We didn't want to add 3 and 6. We wanted to add 6 and 6. Now, in the first way we've done it, and if we've done it by typing in the specific numbers, and you know, it doesn't matter if it's one change here, but presumably you're not going to use a spreadsheet to do something as simple as these little formulas. It's going to be bigger. You're going to hold more data. And so if you're doing that, and then you've got to go into every cell where you've specifically typed the number like this, and you've got to change it. So I can come up here, and I can certainly change anything. I can come up, and I can say, well, that's 3. Oh, it should have been a 6. Oh, dear. So I'm going to change that to 6, and sure enough, the answer changes to 12. And like I say, on a small case like this, that's no problem. But what if this number 3 here that's in cell A2, what if that's just used all over the place in loads of different formulas that's going on in your spreadsheets? Well, watch this. If I just overwrite that 3, and I haven't pressed return yet, so nothing will happen until I press the return, or the enter key as it's called. But watch what happens. Watch what happens to our 9 down here in box B4. As soon as I press return, boom, it immediately updates. Like I say, it's sort of constantly watching, and as soon as a change occurs in one of the cells that a formula is watching, then that formula immediately updates itself. Okay, and this can just be an immense time saver. One great example is that we recently changed, or I'm not sure when it was now, probably a year ago or so, but we changed our VAT rate. Our VAT rate was 17.5%. Okay, and then what happens is the bankers have got to have their pay rises, and so we need to give them some more money, and so we've got to go from 17.5% to 20%. Okay, and so 17.5%. That's especially if you're doing accounting and things like that, you're going to be referring to all that old figure. You're going to be referring to it all the time. And so if that just sits there, I could have it here so it says percentage VAT next to it, yeah, and let's just make it look all pretty and things like that. And so that just sits there as a field in one of your spreadsheets, a little box like that just says 17.5% VAT. Okay, and then the VAT rate changes to 20%. Well, then it doesn't matter, because if I'm just referring to that cell, all my formulas are going to change. It's easy. It doesn't matter. We don't care. Okay, so that's just one very simple reason why creating formulas by referring to cells is so powerful and so valuable. So what we've done there. So there we've done 20 plus 6. Okay. Let's just, what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to come back and I'm going to clear my formatting, and then I'm just going to delete that. Just giving you an example. So this was add. Okay. Well, let's do subtract. All right. So how do we write that formula? Well, we're just going to write it the same. I'm going to subtract the 6 from the 20. I don't want. So I'm going to write a formula. How do I start? I start with equals. I'm going to say A2, which is that blue box. Good. Little visual check. Yeah, we're in the right place. Subtract A3, and we should get 14 because I'm good at maths. Brilliant. So let's do multiply. Multiply. I'm not very good at spelling. I think I've got that right. So let's multiply the two together. And so we're going to do a formula. We're going to do equals. Let's start typing them a bit faster. So we're going to do A2 star A3. And what we're going to get? 120? Yay. Okay. Let's do divide. Okay. And by the way, obviously, as you know this, I'm just telling you, but I know you know it. The words I'm writing here don't make, this is just for your own, just to clarify what I'm doing. These have no bearings upon the formulas or anything like that, but I know you knew that. Let's do 20 divided by 6, which is, so I'm going to do 20 divided by 6, so I'm going to write a formula. My brain went off into pi for a moment there, but then I remembered that's 7. Oops. See, don't talk out loud, Dad, as you're writing a formula. So I want to say A2, get the little blue box, check I'm in the right place, divided by A3, green, yeah, good, and I get 3.33333. So what as you can see there, we've done a variety of different formulas, all referring to the same part. We've done A2 divided by A3, A2 times A3, A2 minus A3, A2 plus A3. And they're all using these numbers. And now, like I say, the beauty of this is, and obviously Excel can do big numbers. So let's just have some fun. So watch all our formulas, okay? So we've got these four And watch the fact that this formula won't change. Well, it's not even... so let's change this now to 159. Boom! And we get all these formulas changed. This becomes 65. Yeah? It's great, isn't it? Let's change this one to 207. And we get all sorts of, you know, funny numbers going on here. 32,000 in this one. 0.76 there. You know, do you see what I mean? So it's all live. It's all live all the time. Okay. So, and I was doing that by manually typing in the grid reference. Let's just reset it back to, so I don't know, 6 and 3. So just to make life nice and easy. I'll just show you one additional way that, you know, it's the same thing. But let me just show, let's do the addition formula again. So I'm going to do a formula, I'm going to write equals, okay? And then instead of typing A2, I'm going to click on the cell A2. And we get this dotted line. We can also see the blue sort of just on the edge. We can see a bit of blue, especially as I move my cursor around, we're getting a bit of blue to match the blue lettering. But we get this sort of dotted line, okay? And all I'm basically telling you here is that you can build formulas without having to type them on the keyboard. So I'm going to say plus and click in A3, and then I'm just going to press return, okay? And sure enough, we get exactly the same formula, but I just built that by clicking. And that can be really fast, and we'll cover that in more detail, but it's just a nice way, and it's a way I will often do it. So I've just opened up the monthly monthly budget that we formatted, last week. And I think we can agree that the formatting looks okay on this. It should be simple enough for us to view. So let's go ahead. So there's no formulas at all in this. You know, all these are just numbers at the moment. Yeah, they're just, you know, you can just imagine that old fictitious Joe that's created this table has just each month, every bill that comes in, he's just written them down. Okay. And so what do we want to do? Well, obviously, what we'd like to know is how much money we spent in January. We can look at it and we can guess, I don't know, £500, something around about that. But let's work it out. So, and let's do it starting off with, okay, I'll show you the way that we've learned to do it from how we've previously been creating formulas. Although you will immediately see the drawback, and we'll go on, and don't worry, we will do it in a much better way. But let's just write it out. So, what do I need to add up? So, for January, I need to add up our council tax, BT, ISA, all these columns. So where am I going to go from? I'm going to go from B3, and I'm going to go down to B15. Ready? So, let's do it with me. I'm going to do a formula. I'm going to start by saying equals, and then I'm going to say B3. Get the blue, check, like it. Press the plus key. I'm going to do B4. Get a green, can't see it very well because it's on the background. Let's do B5, purple, nice. Let's do B6, maroon, funky. Let's do B7, green, a different colour green. Let's do B8. I'm curious myself, orange as to when the colours run out. Let's do B9. Oh, don't know whether that looks like a duplicate or not. Let's do B10. Let's do B11. Let's do, yeah, I think we've run out of colours. Let's do B12. Let's do a bit faster. Let's do B13. Let's do B14. I'm sure you can see what the problem is in doing it this way. Let's do B15. Okay, let's press return. Whew, 639. So I think we can immediately see the problem with writing out a formula like that, and we haven't even got that many entries. You know, this isn't in spreadsheet terms. Adding up that column there isn't a lot, but having to type in. I mean, if we just look at the length of this formula, even though when we highlight it, it goes a pretty colour. You know, so it's worth it for some things. We've got a bit of a rainbow effect going on there. But it's quite confusing and it's quite complicated, and it's certainly slow. You know, it's just like having a calculator, isn't it, really, and just typing in. And although it might be a bit quicker to type in A23 than, you know, 232.91, you're not saving yourself much. And if that was about as good as it got, then, you know, I think spreadsheets wouldn't have become very popular. But of course, we can do it a lot better. And the way that we do it a lot better, and I'll do it in this one here, is we have to start bringing in tiny little words into our formulas. Okay, so at the moment they've just been, they haven't even really been a formula, I don't think, as yet. But for me, formulas always sort of have, will have a word in. Okay, I'm not really going to push that line, because actually the more I think about that, I don't think that's necessarily true. But so let's have a look. So what word are we going to use? What word would sum this all up? Well, the word that would sum it all up nicely would be sum. Okay, and so let me just show you how this works. I type an equal sign because we're doing a formula and all formulas begin with equals. Okay, and ignore them. Don't worry that it's in red. That's just the formatting that we've used. So I'm going to say equals sum. Okay, and look what happens. And don't be scared. And there's there's loads of these different words that we can use. Okay, and what Excel is doing here is it's just showing us all of the different words, and the only one we're going to use is sum. But look, adds all the numbers in a range of cells. So that could be really useful, you know, and we've got sum ifs, and we'll go over these, and sum products, and we'll go through lots of these different ones. And here's one I've never even come across, because there's hundreds of these formulas. This one returns the sum of the squares of the arguments. Okay, wicked. But not for today. So, adds all the numbers in a range of cells. So that's what we want to do, okay? And I pressed the tab key there, all right? But you could just build it manually. But look, let's see what happens. So it then says, so what I'm just looking. So I've typed in sum, all right, and now it's saying give me the first number, all right. Now we know the first number for the previous one we did, and we're going to add up February's now. But we're just going to be a bit clever as well when we do it. Notice there's no council tax for February, all right. Should we ignore that column, or should we include that column in our sum? Should be the question that's in your head. And also, notice there was no gas maintenance plan paid in that month, and there was also no car loan paid in that month. Well, for reasons that I'll go into in a moment, even though there's nothing in those cells, and it won't make any difference to the final formula, we're going to include them, though, as if there are, because in other months there are. And as we get cleverer with formulas, you'll see that doing something once, if you can possibly just do it once, it's the best way. Anyway, again, I think I'm making it sound a bit more complicated. Let's just see what we've written so far. We've written like we pressed the 5 keys. We pressed the equals key, then we pressed SUM, and we've got an open bracket. That's it, all right? And now I'm going to type in C3, and again, look, we've got a little blue selector, and I'm going, yes, that's right. And now that I'm going to do one other different thing. I'm not going to overload you. One other thing. I'm going to do a colon. You know, 2 dots on top of one another. And a colon means 2. As in, from here to here. Okay? And so we want to add up, and we add a quick count. I want to add from C3 to C15. Okay? And these are always inclusive. So, you know, it will include the C3, and it will include the C15, and look, and we get a visual check, and look, our blue box has expanded to cover the whole area it's going to add up, and so that's a visual quick check for us. So I look at that and I'm like, yep, that's good, that's right. And then, you know, we've opened a bracket, so I guess the last thing we should do is close the bracket, all right? And before I press return, I'm just going to say that this formula and loads of others, they're really simple. And all it's saying is, add up everything in the bracket, dude. If it's in the brackets, add it up. Sum it. Alright, so let's press return. Obviously, 449, better month that month. But there we go. So we've added up from C13 to C15. Well, let's do it again, all right? I'll do it exactly the same way for this next one, just to show you exactly the same way, just so we get an idea. So equals, SUM, open brackets. What am I summing? Well, I'm going to sum this time D. Remember, we're moving across. So I'm going to go D3 colon D15 close brackets. And so what's it saying before I hit return? Sum everything inside the brackets, dude. If it's in the brackets, add it up, add them together. And we get 451. All right? Nice. I think we're happy with that. And obviously, let's compare that with that awful first formula, B3 plus B4 plus B5, on and on. All right? So you can see how much faster we can write that. And this is all about speed and efficiency and things like that. Well, let's see if we can do it even in a more efficient way. I'm going to say equals. I'm going to do the same sum again, but this time, do you remember I said we touched on that you can use the mouse? So I'm going to say equals sum, open brackets. And now I'm going to do April's month. All I'm going to do is I'm going to click on E3 and I'm holding my finger on the mouse, click and drag, click and drag, click and drag. I get down to E15, I let go, I do my closing bracket and hit return. So I did that by dragging the mouse. Let me do it again for you. And so you get some feeling for how quickly you can do it. And I don't know, for this, it's probably about the same as typing it, but let's just have a look. So equals sum, open brackets. I want you to add up that row there, close bracket. 629, bad month. Okay? Now then, something we haven't looked at is the idea of copying. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do copy, and then I'm going to do paste. So I want to copy this formula that's in May 29, so I'm going to come up to copy, okay, which is Control C on the keyboard, but I will, and then I'm going to click in here and I'm going to do paste. Now it says 638, and it says 638 obviously because it's not, it's not copied the 62. Let me just show you what's going on here. So this June is in the G column, okay, and when we look at the formula we can see that Excel was smart enough that when we copied from one column to the next, Excel was smart enough to update. And so look, this is now G3 to G15. The previous one was F3 to F15. Okay? So now what we can do, so now that we know that I can take any of these formulas and I can copy them, I'm going to do this with the keyboard shortcut Control C. And you can see we get these, I like these that are called marching ants that show us our selection. And now look, I can click and I'm going to drag, so I've highlighted July through to December, and then I'm going to do the keyboard shortcut for paste, which is Control V. And I've pasted my answer in, and as I click on any of them, I can then, when I click on them, I can see it up here. I've got H3 to H15. If I click on another one, I3 to I15, J3 to J15, K3 to K15. Boring? It's getting boring in my head, but I think we get the idea. Yeah? So it's smart enough that it can do the right thing. Okay? It's not a mind reader, Excel. Okay? And sometimes you'll copy a formula from one place to another and it won't do the right thing. And we'll talk all about that in another lesson and how to fix it. And there's loads of ways around. But it will get it right a lot of the time. All right? Now I'm going to end by showing one last little trick. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete. And the little trick is how I actually work. All right? Because that copy and paste was pretty fast. I think you'll agree. All right? But the lovely thing is, go to clear, and I'll just clear the contents this time. So I'll keep the formatting. You won't see any of it, but basically it's still there. It's still it will still be read if I type anything in. So let me just, if this was me now, and I was working on this spreadsheet, and I want to add up January, and then I want to add up February, March, all the way through to December. Almost certainly this is how I would do it. I would say equals sum, open brackets, I'd click on my mouse and drag because I find it nice and fast. I'd close my brackets, I'd hit return. This is the last thing I want to show you. Can you notice that little nodule, little sticky out bit in the bottom right hand corner? And indeed, you get it on the bottom right hand corner of any cell you select. Okay, the little bottom right hand corner has just got a little box. And watch my cursor. As I approach that little box, it changes to this black cross. All right, not this one with the arrows on the end. When I'm right on the corner, I get a little black cross. Okay, and this little black cross enables you to copy and paste essentially. Okay, but by dragging. All right, and so you can click and drag all the way across to the right, and it copies and pastes the formula all the way across. Lovely. And look, we even got a little animation that was just going on there that was sort of trying to show the same thing. And so that's how I do it in real life. Okay, because let me undo twice, and let me just do this at full speed. So you just go equals open brackets. I want to add those up, close brackets, press return, go into the bottom right hand corner. There. How fast is that? That's how I do it. That's how you do it in real life. That's how you're going to be doing it too. So that was a good second session, and we'll go on next week and we'll start exploring a lot more advanced formulas. Okay, thanks ever so much. Bye bye.